Hello everyone. It has been a little bit. I don't think I've done a video for about 2 weeks, but this one is a very special one about my Marty boy. I did this for the Mismatched Manny collab that I hosted for World Down Syndrome Day, which was March 21st. So I was really hoping to get this out by then, but life happened, so here it is. I thought, well, I post this Manny, and while you watch, I'll talk a little bit about our story with Marty and his Down syndrome and our life and everything. I did not know pretty much anything about Down syndrome before I had him, so it was a big shock. We actually found out after he was born, which is super crazy because I had all of the ultrasounds, everything looked fine. He actually even had a major heart defect that was not found in his ultrasound, which just blows my mind. But so I guess when they're doing the ultrasound, they're just looking for the 4 chambers of the heart, and he did. He just had a huge hole, actually 2 huge holes that basically made one big hole in the center of his heart. So anyway, I had a great pregnancy with him. So I was 24 when I had him, so not old, like everyone thinks that only old people have kids with Down syndrome, but it's actually more common in younger women. So I went through my whole pregnancy. I felt great. It was awesome. He also is my first. So yeah, I just had a great pregnancy, and I honestly felt really thankful that I didn't know, because I would have researched all the things that could happen, everything that could go wrong, and I know myself, and it would have probably taken all of the joy out of that pregnancy. So it was really a blessing to us that we didn't know until he was born, because then once he was here, yes, it was a shock and really difficult, but I had him in my arms and he was just perfect to me, and it made it all okay. So I actually went in, well, I was going to be going in to have an ultrasound because I was measuring about 2 weeks behind. So I was going to be going in on when I was like 38 weeks, I think, to get an ultrasound. But then on Valentine's Day night, my water broke, and it wasn't like in the movies where it's like this gush of water. It was just like a little bit. So at first I was like, is that really it? Like, is this happening? And at that point, I was 37 and a half weeks. And I feel like that should have made me like nervous because it's early, but I really didn't think anything of it. So I called my doctor, and they were like, yep, you don't have to hurry or anything, but like get your bags packed and go in, and they can test to make sure that's what it was. So we like cleaned up dinner and got ready, went to the hospital, and I was just like so calm and relaxed. Like I was super excited, but wasn't nervous or anything. So I went in, they did whatever check it is to see, and sure enough, my water had broken. So I was admitted it was time to have this baby. So I was so excited. I wasn't having contractions or anything crazy like that. So I don't remember how long it was, but I ended up having to be induced because if your water breaks, there's a risk of infection. So within, I think, 12 or 24 hours, you have to be induced. So I was, and it still was like nothing crazy. But once I started to have the strong contractions, his heart rate would dip a ton, like every single contraction. So they just had me turn thinking maybe I was on the cord, or like something was pressing against the cord or something, and he wasn't getting good blood flow. So I had to lay on one side, I forget which one it was, basically my entire labor, just to monitor that. So then once it was actually time to push, I think I pushed 3 times or maybe 2, but he came so fast. It was like 2 minutes of actual pushing. So that was amazing. But he was just a tiny little peanut, 5 pounds, like so small, so sweet. And I remember they put him on my chest, and he like looked up at me, and it was the sweetest moment of my life. Like, so precious, so perfect. Shortly after though, they let me hold him for a while, which was so nice. But then he was looking kind of blue, and they said, I think we need to get him on some oxygen, just like give him a little boost. Like, it wasn't anything serious or scary. But they wanted to put him on oxygen. So that's when I was kind of like, oh no, is everything okay? And I feel like when I saw him, I kind of thought, I was like, is everything? Because, like, you know, the babies with Down syndrome have a look where their eyes are a little more squinty, like just look a little bit different. And so it, like, kind of in the back of my mind, I thought maybe, but then I also was like, no, we would have known, like, that doesn't happen. So as we were sitting there just like holding him and they were putting oxygen on him, getting him all set up, one of the nurses was like, I just wanted to talk to you. We kind of have noticed some markers for Down syndrome, like his eyes, and there's like, it's called like a sandal gap on their toes, where his big toe and the second toe have like bigger gap between them. And then also the single palmar, which is just the single crease in the center of his palm. So she was like, we're going to do like the genetic testing, so we'll know for sure, but I just like wanted to let you know that. And I kind of was like, okay, whatever, like if you really think so, but also was like, oh no, okay. So I'm probably messing all of this up because I mean, I definitely have PTSD from his birth and the following months because it was all just like such a shock. My brain has basically blocked out some things, so this might be super hard to follow, but I'm doing my best. So I was really lucky though that I still got to like have him on my chest for a while before they ended up putting him on oxygen. And I feel like they might have taken him off of it because I know we had him in our room and we didn't find out officially till the second day. So I don't know. We ended up having like all of our family come visit. It was crazy. Like, my husband has 8 siblings and I think pretty much everybody came with their kids and everything. And I was like trying to nurse him and he wasn't really nursing. So I had to like kind of pump and feed him with a little syringe and with a little spoon, and it was just insane. So the next day is when they came in and told us officially, like, yep, he has Down syndrome. And because of that, we need to do some scans on his heart because of the risk of heart defects. And I was like, well, he already had all the ultrasounds, so I'm sure it's fine. Like, I wasn't worried. So they did the echo, I think it was. And they came back and told me that he has a major heart defect that will require open heart surgery and he will go into heart failure. So he had a congenital heart disease and he will be going into heart failure. And I lost it. Like, they didn't explain it well. Like, he's going to be fine. Like, it's okay. They'll give him medicine and stuff to like get him to surgery. Like, all I heard was that he has this major heart defect and is going to go into heart failure. And like, mind you, he was this teeny tiny 5 pound some ounces, and I was sure that he was not going to make it. Like, I don't think I've ever sobbed harder in that moment than then, because I just like saw this fragile tiny baby that I just got to meet, and I was sure that he wasn't going to make it. And so that we like prayed and we're just trying to like soak up our time with him. And then I like regretted that we had everyone there because it took away time, you know, all these thoughts. So thankfully my husband Martin is amazing and so strong and like held me up during that time. And same with my mom. So we ended up having the cardiologist come back in and talk to us and told us the plan. Like, we're hoping that once he's about 3 months, we'll start the surgery. And I was like, what? You could have led with that. Like, next time you're telling a parent, like, maybe lead with that. Like, they're going to be okay. So he's like, wow, I've never had anyone so excited about heart surgery. And I was like, well, we thought he needed it like immediately or he wasn't going to make it. So yeah, that was all a huge mess that could have been avoided if it was worded a little bit better. But we were just so thankful because we knew that like I said, they'll have medication for him, that he's going to be okay. And like heart failure looks different in a baby than in an adult, where they like have a heart attack and can be gone, you know. So that was a huge relief to us. And pretty much after that, he ended up having to spend 2 weeks in the NICU because he was not eating well. He had to have a feeding tube in his nose. He had to have oxygen to keep his levels up, and just had to be able to be off oxygen fully and back to his birth weight, I think it was. So yeah, I had him at 37.5 weeks, but yeah, him being small, and we had to learn how to place the feeding tube down his nose, I was so scared, and I couldn't do it the first time, and I felt like the worst parent ever. Like, it was just so much all at once. So yeah, we ended up having to learn how to feed him. I pumped every 2 hours, so he was getting my milk, and basically once he was discharged and able to go home, he came home on oxygen at nighttime and on his feeding tube as well. So I just remember, though, when he was still admitted at the NICU, we went home at night, and it was the hardest thing ever because we had his crib there, but he wasn't in it. So I was like pumping, and I would look over and see his crib or see his things and him not being there. And it was just so hard. So when he was home, it was like a whole new level of difficulty, but it was just so amazing to be home together and pumping with him, like with me, not just doing it alone. I remember a few times though at the hospital, they would like run out at like 3 a.m, and I would get a call and like run to the hospital to give it to him. And yeah, it was crazy. So then pretty much his first year of life was like in the hospital. It felt like every other week, and it pretty much was. It was like he would get any kind of sickness, be in the hospital for a week or two, and then we'd be home for a week, and then there would be another sickness, or like he had to get a feeding tube put in his stomach because he wasn't making progress, and the NG tube that goes in the nose isn't good for long-term use, so he had to get a feeding tube put in, and then that thing got infected like all the time. It was such an ordeal. And like, we knew how to change it and keep it clean, and we were doing everything we could. He just has very sensitive skin. So we were in a lot just for infections. And yeah, he would have to be on oxygen more than what we had at home, like pretty much any time he got sick. But he was seriously the sweetest, most snuggly, chill baby in the world. And him being my first, I could just snuggle him all day long, and I totally did. I was like, I don't care. I'm not putting him down. I'm going to snuggle him, and to this day, he still is the snuggliest, sweetest kid. So the first year, and then he had his open heart surgery at 3 months old, so that was the second hardest thing I've ever had to do. Having to hand him over to the anesthesiologist was the hardest. I lost it and was just so terrified. Literally open heart surgery on a 3-month-old. He wasn't even 10 pounds at that point. So, but as he is, he totally rocked it. He did amazing. I was amazed. Like, it was so scary seeing him the first time, like all connected to tons and tons of machines and everything, but he was a rock star, and within a week he was home, and it was just mind-blowing. Then after that, he was pretty good for a while. He ended up getting his feeding tube out not till he was like 3, I think. So he wasn't eating anything until he was about 3. And I ended up doing a blended diet for him. So I was blending up all of his food and putting it in his tube, because we tried formula and everything, but he just did not tolerate it well. So he was like getting sick from that. And basically, once we started the blended diet, he started eating more things by mouth. And I feel like that made a huge difference for him, like getting him on the real foods, blended diet. And now you would never guess that he was on a feeding tube because he eats like crazy. So he's been through it. He had therapy from the time that he was 6 weeks old. They would come to our house. He had physical therapy and occupational therapy every single week. And we had to go to the doctor pretty much every week to check. And then he started speech therapy when he was 2, I believe. And yeah, it's just been crazy. He also started school when he was 3. So he went to a little preschool and absolutely loved it. And ever since has been just in love with school and absolutely thriving. Like, he is amazing. Just everything that he's been through and how sweet and happy and joyful he is just, he inspires me every day. He's in the phase where he's super naughty too, so it's not all smiles and laughs, but I will take it. And even when he's like being super naughty or mischievous, I'm like, this is something I never would have expected. You know, like when you first get the diagnosis, you just think of all the limitations, but I'm like, yeah, no, he is going out to prove us all wrong. And any thoughts we had about what Down syndrome would look like, he is just like, nope, let me show you my way. So the support too we received from family and friends and different Down syndrome organizations just was amazing. Like, I have had so much support through this journey with him, and that has been so key to me. And like being able to connect with other moms. I'm in a Down syndrome birth year group, so all of us have kids with Down syndrome that were born in 2016. So that was a huge lifeline to me. I became really good friends with the moms. We see our kids grow up, and we still post in the groups pretty much every day. And then also groups where they're just a wide range of people that have older kids, so you can ask questions and share experiences. So he has been such a blessing, and it's just my life's work to advocate for him, show the world how amazing he is, so that when somebody does have this diagnosis, it's not just fear and sadness, but excitement too, because there is so much more to him than Down syndrome. He is such a gift. And yes, it was the hardest times of my life, but also the best times, and we can't picture our life without him. He just brings joy to everyone he meets and just loves people, loves dancing, loves going to school and church, and just, he is the greatest gift. And just always brings me back to, he is fearfully and wonderfully made, and nothing about him is a mistake. Sorry, I knew I was gonna cry. And yeah, he just is such a gift, and it just breaks my heart that people think kids like him aren't worthy of life or worthy of being included and just are pushed aside. So I would just encourage you, if you have any questions, ask me, or if you have anybody who got this diagnosis and they don't know where to turn, please give them my name. I would love to talk to them and give them resources. But yeah, he is just the best and so sweet and wonderful, and I will shout his worth from the rooftops and everyone else's. So hopefully this wasn't too much of a ramble and it made sense at all. I am an open book sharing our experience, and again, I just want people to know that it's not scary and it's not something to be devastated about if you have a diagnosis. Well, I guess, yes, it is scary, but having any kid is scary. I mean, you don't know what they're going to be like. We've had hospitalizations with all 3 of our kids. So I just think, yeah, his life is so worthy, and I'm just so blessed that I get to be his mama. So thank you for listening to that, and for every single person who joined me on this collab. It was so fun seeing everybody rocking their mismatched manis. Mine kind of wasn't really mismatched. It was more of just the Down syndrome colors, which are blue and yellow. But yeah, it's so fun. And I showed Marty the picture, and he goes, "Oh, for me? Cool. I like it." And he just thought it was so cool. They celebrated at school too. And I guess kids were saying Happy You Day. So they were so he totally thinks World Down Syndrome Day is just for him. So that's fine. He can think that. So he's also been super blessed with the school that he's at right now, is just incredible with including him. He's in a kindergarten class with peers of his same age and just thriving. And his teacher was saying how great inclusion has been for the other kids and how they've embraced him. And even a little girl in a different kindergarten class made him a card that said, "You make the world a brighter place. Happy You Day. I love you, Marty." And I just lost it when I saw that. It was so cute. So yeah, it just shows inclusion is super important. Have your kids see kids of all abilities so that it's not a shock to them or they think that there's something wrong with them. Yeah, it's just so important. So I am going to go now. I'll finish up the rest of this mani. But again, I just am thankful for all of you who have shown your love for Marty and support. So I hope you have a great rest of your day.